The chamber was silent when the alien queen spoke. "The door is locked. You will stay in my room tonight, human." Eli Carter stood still. He did not reach for the door. He did not raise his voice. He only turned slowly and looked at the smooth black surface behind him. There was no handle. No visible control panel. No seam. The door had become part of the wall. Eli had trained for many situations as a human envoy, but this was not one of them. The room was vast and strangely calm. Tall, curved walls glowed with soft blue light. The air felt warm, clean, and heavy with quiet power. At the center of the chamber stood the queen of the Varelian Dominion, taller than any human, her form elegant and imposing. Her crown was not metal, but living crystal that shimmered faintly as if breathing. Eli reminded himself to breathe. He was not a soldier. He had no weapon. His only protection was his words and his control over fear. "I understand," Eli said calmly. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Varelians were used to fear. They ruled through it. Humans usually showed it too, even if they tried to hide it. But this human did not tremble. "You do not ask why," the queen said. "I believe you will tell me," Eli replied. That answer interested her. She moved toward a raised platform and sat upon a smooth throne grown from the same crystal as her crown. Every movement was measured, powerful, and deliberate. She studied him, as if he were a puzzle. "This chamber is sealed by ancient law," she said. "No guard may enter. No system may override it. You will remain until the cycle ends." Eli nodded. "Then I will wait." Most beings would have protested. Some would have begged. Others would have tried to threaten. Eli did none of these things. He placed his hands behind his back and stood quietly, respecting the space between them. Silence stretched. The queen found it uncomfortable. "You are not afraid," she said. "I am," Eli answered honestly. "But fear does not help me think." That answer stayed with her. Hours passed slowly. The lights of the chamber shifted as the planet rotated outside. Eli's legs grew tired, but he did not sit without permission. He watched the queen's movements, her posture, the subtle changes in the crystal walls. He listened to the faint hum beneath the silence, a sound too steady to be natural. Finally, the queen spoke again. "Humans are considered fragile," she said. "Your world is divided. Your lifespan is short. Your technology is inferior." Eli met her gaze. "Yet we are here." "Yes," she replied. "That is the question." A deep vibration suddenly rolled through the floor. The lights flickered. The hum beneath the walls wavered. Just slightly. The queen's head lifted. Her eyes sharpened. Another tremor followed, stronger this time. Eli felt it too. He had lived through earthquakes on Earth. This felt different, controlled, mechanical. "Wrong. Is this normal?" Eli asked carefully. The queen did not answer at once. She rose from her throne and placed one long hand against the wall. The crystal dimmed under her touch. "No," she said. The hum grew louder. Somewhere far beyond the sealed chamber, alarms began to echo faintly through the structure of the palace. The queen turned toward the door. "Override," she commanded. Nothing happened. Her expression changed. Not fear, but concern. "That door," she said slowly, "should not ignore me." Eli swallowed. "You said it cannot be overridden." "It has never needed to be." Another shock passed through the chamber. This one knocked Eli off balance. He caught himself against the wall, breathing hard. Outside, the alarms were louder now. Something serious was happening. Eli forced his mind to stay calm. Panic would solve nothing. "Your Majesty," he said, choosing his words carefully. "May I ask a question?" The queen looked at him. Many would have been angry in her place. She was not. She was curious. "Speak." "What powers this chamber?" Eli asked. She tilted her head slightly. "The palace core. It is older than my dynasty. It has never failed." Eli nodded. "Old systems sometimes hide problems well. On Earth, we learned that long ago." Another tremor. Stronger. The hum changed pitch. rising into an unstable vibration that made Eli's teeth ache. The queen placed both hands against the wall now. Her crystal crown pulsed brighter. "There is instability," she said quietly. "That is impossible." "Impossible things happen," Eli replied. "Especially when people stop expecting them." She looked at him sharply. "You suggest fault in Varelian design?" "I suggest that no design is perfect forever," Eli said. "Not even human ones." For a long moment, she stared at him. Then she did something no Varelian ruler had done in thousands of cycles. She listened. The chamber lights dimmed further. The floor shuddered again. Somewhere above them, something heavy collapsed. Eli focused on the sound beneath the noise. The hum was no longer smooth. It was uneven, like two waves colliding. "It sounds like a harmonic conflict," Eli said slowly. "Two systems trying to correct each other at the same time." The queen frowned. "Our systems are autonomous." "That can be dangerous," Eli said. "On Earth, we learned that automation without oversight can fight itself." The queen considered this. "You believe you understand our technology?" "No," Eli said. "I believe I understand failure." Another violent tremor struck. The chamber lights flared red for the first time. The queen's eyes widened slightly. Outside the room, the alarms became desperate. She turned back to the human. "If this chamber fails," she said, "you will die." Eli nodded. "So will you." The truth of it hung between them. The queen straightened. "Why do you remain calm? Why do you remain calm? Why do you remain calm? Why do you remain calm?" Eli took a slow breath. "Because if I panic, I waste time. And time seems important right now." She studied him with new intensity. Not as a subject, not as a lesser being, as a mind. "Come closer," she ordered. Eli approached carefully, stopping where she gestured. She pointed toward a section of the wall where the vibration was strongest. "Listen," she said. Eli pressed his ear against the crystal. The hum was clearer here. Uneven. Strained. "It's oscillating," he said. "Trying to stabilize. But overshooting." "Can you stop it?" she asked. Eli shook his head. "Not alone. But I can help you see it." For the first time since he entered the chamber, the queen hesitated. Then she nodded. "Speak," she said. "Human." As Eli explained his thoughts in simple terms, using analogies from Earth, the queen followed carefully. Rivers that overflow when forced too fast. Machines that tear themselves apart when correcting too aggressively. Systems that need restraint, not strength. Another shock rocked the chamber, but weaker this time. The queen adjusted her control patterns. Slowly, carefully, the hum eased slightly. Eli exhaled. "It's working," he said. "For now," she replied. They stood together in the sealed chamber, ruler and envoy, alien and human, facing a problem neither could solve alone. Outside, the palace still shook. Inside, something had changed. Not the door, but the balance between them. The chamber did not shake as hard now, but the danger was far from over. Eli could feel it in the air. The hum beneath the walls had softened, yet it was unstable, like a wounded machine trying to breathe. The queen stood beside him, her long fingers glowing faintly as she controlled ancient systems older than written Varelian history. Outside the sealed chamber, alarms echoed again and again. The sound was distant, but sharp, filled with panic. "The palace is failing in layers," the queen said. Her voice was calm, but there was tension beneath it. "Outer systems are compensating too aggressively." Eli nodded slowly. "They're overcorrecting." "Yes, that usually causes a chain reaction," Eli said. "Each system tries to fix the last mistake, but makes it worse." The queen looked at him closely. "You speak of this as if it is familiar." "It is," Eli replied. "On Earth, our biggest disasters didn't happen because systems were weak. They happened because systems were too confident." The queen turned away and extended her awareness deeper into the palace core. Crystal lines across the walls shifted color as she accessed hidden layers of control. "I see it now," she said quietly. Multiple autonomous minds are fighting for authority. That's never good, Eli said. In Varelian belief, the queen replied. Authority must never be shared. Eli allowed himself a small, tired smile. Humans learned the opposite. Shared control is messy, but it survives longer. Another tremor ran through the floor, lighter than before but still dangerous. Fine cracks of light appeared in the crystal ceiling, glowing briefly before sealing themselves again. How long do we have? Eli asked. The queen paused. If the cascade continues, less than one cycle. Eli's chest tightened. One cycle meant hours, maybe less. And the door? He asked. It will not open until the trial ends, she said. Even if the palace collapses. Eli looked at the smooth black surface again. The door had not moved once. It did not care about alarms or authority. Then we treat this room like a lifeboat, Eli said. Stabilize the core enough to survive until the cycle ends. You assume survival is possible, the queen said. I assume trying is better than waiting, Eli answered. She studied him again, that deep, calculating stare that had crushed generals and broken empires. Yet the human did not look away. You are not trained for this, she said. No. Eli agreed. But neither is fear. Something about that answer made the queen pause. She extended a long finger toward the wall, and the crystal reshaped itself into a floating interface of light and symbols. The patterns were complex, layered, and shifting faster than human eyes were meant to track. Eli did not pretend to understand the symbols. Instead, he watched how they changed. He listened to the rhythm of the hum and matched it to the pulsing lights. Your systems respond instantly, he said. No delay. Yes, that's the problem, Eli said. They don't give themselves time to see if a correction worked. The queen's eyes narrowed. Delay is inefficiency. Not always, Eli said. Sometimes it's wisdom. Another shock struck, stronger than the last. Eli stumbled, but the queen steadied him without thinking. Her grip was firm, grounding. For a brief moment, she realized she had touched him. A human. She released him quickly, but the thought remained. You suggest we weaken control, she said. I suggest we slow it, Eli replied. Let the systems breathe. She considered this. Slowing Varelian systems went against everything her people believed. Speed was dominance. Control was survival. Yet the palace was still failing. Guide me, she said. Eli took a careful step closer to the interface. He pointed, not at symbols, but at the timing between pulses. Here, he said. And here. The corrections overlap. If you space them, the conflict should reduce. The queen adjusted her control pattern, hesitating for a fraction of a second longer between commands. The hum softened further. Outside, the alarms shifted tone. Still loud, but less desperate. It responds, she said. Eli let out a breath he did not realize he was holding. Good. That means the core wants to stabilize. It just needs permission. The queen looked at him sharply. Permission? Not literal, Eli said. But systems often behave better when they aren't forced. The chamber light slowly returned from red to blue, but the relief did not last long. A new vibration rose, deeper and heavier than before. This one did not come from above or below, but from far within the palace. The queen stiffened. Internal breach. Where? Eli asked. Lower council ring, she said. Someone has triggered emergency authority. Eli frowned. During a system failure? Yes, she said. They believe I am compromised. Another tremor struck, sharp and sudden. They're trying to take control, Eli said. They are trying to survive, the queen replied. Varelians respect strength above all. Eli shook his head. On Earth, that kind of thinking gets people killed. The queen did not argue. She was listening again. They'll overload the core if they fight it, Eli said. Can you isolate their access? I can, she said. But it will expose me. Expose you how? They will know I am alive, she said, and sealed. Eli met her gaze. Then hiding isn't helping anymore. Silence filled the chamber for a moment. broken only by the low hum of the stabilizing core. The queen straightened, her crown glowing brighter. "I have ruled through certainty," she said slowly. "Tonight, I rule through risk." She cut the council's access. The palace shook violently. Outside, the alarms changed again, now mixed with voices shouting orders and confusion. "They will panic," the queen said. "They already were," Eli replied. "Now at least they know the truth." The hum surged, then settled again, lower and steadier than before. The queen's breathing slowed. "The cascade is slowing," Eli nodded. "But it won't hold forever." "No," she agreed. The trial chamber was never meant to manage a palace crisis. Eli glanced at the ceiling. How was it meant to be used? The queen's expression darkened slightly. "As a test." "Of what?" "Of stillness," she said. "Of patience. Of control. Under pressure." Eli thought about that. "Then it's doing its job." She looked at him. "You do not fear this test?" "I respect it," Eli said, "but I don't worship it." That answer struck something deep within her. Another tremor passed, lighter this time. The cracks of light in the ceiling faded completely. The palace was stabilizing. For now. Outside the chamber, the power struggle continued. Inside, the human and the queen stood together, maintaining a fragile balance. "You could have tried to escape," the queen said suddenly. "There's nowhere to go," Eli replied. "And breaking trust usually causes more damage than walls falling." The queen turned to face him fully. "You believe trust has value." "I know it does," Eli said. "It's the only reason humanity survived itself." She studied him in silence, seeing him not as a fragile envoy, but as something unfamiliar. A species that endured chaos without demanding perfection. The hum beneath the walls settled into a steady rhythm, almost peaceful. The queen lowered her hands from the interface. "The core will hold until the cycle ends." Eli allowed himself to sit for the first time, lowering himself slowly to the floor. "Good," he said. "Then we wait." She looked down at him, seated calmly in the sealed chamber, surrounded by power that could erase worlds. And for the first time in her long reign, the queen wondered if strength alone had ever truly been enough. The palace had stopped shaking, but it did not feel safe. Eli could sense it in the silence. The alarms outside the chamber were fewer now, spaced farther apart. But that only meant something else was happening. Calm after chaos often meant people were making decisions, and not all of them were wise. The queen stood near the crystal wall, her attention spread across distant systems. Her posture was steady, but her crown glowed faintly, a sign of constant effort. Holding the palace together required focus. And the sealed chamber was never meant to be a command center. "The core is stable," she said at last. "But the council is not." Eli leaned back against the wall, stretching his tired legs. "I was afraid you'd say that." "They believe I am weakened," the queen continued. "They believe the trial has broken me." Eli looked at her. "Has it?" The queen did not answer immediately. That alone told Eli more than words could. "I was taught that rulers must never hesitate," she said finally. "Never ask. Never share control. Tonight, I have done all three." "And the palace is still standing," Eli replied. "Yes," she said. "Because of you." Eli shook his head. "Because you listened." The queen studied him carefully. "That is not how Varelians tell history." "Then maybe it's time for a new story," Eli said. A sharp vibration passed through the floor, brief but focused. This was not a system failure. It was deliberate. The queen's eyes hardened. "They are moving forces." Eli straightened. "Toward where?" "This wing," she replied. "They believe the trial chamber protects me." "They are correct." "And once the door opens?" Eli asked. "They will demand proof of strength," she said. "Or my removal." Eli exhaled slowly. "So the real test isn't the chamber." "No," the queen said. "It is what follows." The hum beneath the walls remained steady, but Eli could hear something else now. Faint impacts, heavy steps, armed units moving through the palace halls. "How long until the cycle ends?" Eli asked. The queen tilted her head, sensing the time flow. "Less than one segment," Eli nodded. Then we don't have much time. She turned to him sharply. You should be afraid now. Maybe, Eli said. But fear still won't help. The Queen watched him closely. You accept death too easily. I don't accept it, Eli said. I just don't let it control me. That answer stayed with her. She moved to the center of the chamber and lowered herself into a resting stance, conserving strength. Eli noticed that despite her power, she looked tired. Truly tired. You have carried this empire alone for a long time, Eli said quietly. That is the role of a queen, she replied. On Earth, Eli said. We learned that carrying everything alone breaks even the strongest. The Queen looked away. Weakness invites destruction. So does silence, Eli said. Another impact echoed through the palace. Closer now. They will reach this wing before the cycle ends, the Queen said. They will surround the chamber. Eli thought quickly. Can they override the door once the cycle completes? Yes, she said. It will obey the strongest authority present. Eli frowned. Strongest by what measure? By dominance, she said. By force of will and command. Eli nodded slowly. Then they expect you to prove yourself by crushing them. They do, she said. And if you don't? Eli asked. Then they will replace me. Silence settled between them. Eli looked at the glowing walls, the ancient systems, the power beneath their feet. Then, he looked at the Queen. What if strength doesn't look like domination this time? He asked. Her eyes snapped back to him. Explain. They expect violence, Eli said. They expect fear. What they won't expect is restraint. The Queen's expression tightened. Restraint is seen as weakness, only by those who don't understand it, Eli replied. On Earth, the leaders who survived crises weren't the loudest. They were the calmest. The Queen considered this. Calm does not stop soldiers. No, Eli agreed. But it makes people listen. Another heavy impact echoed, followed by distant voices, orders, confusion. They are already divided. Eli continued. Some want you gone. Some just want the palace safe. Give them a reason to stand down. And how would you suggest I do that? The Queen asked. Eli met her gaze. By telling the truth. Her crown pulsed brighter for a moment. Truth is dangerous. So is pretending everything is fine, Eli said. The Queen closed her eyes briefly, accessing the palace network. Images flowed across the crystal walls, command centers, council chambers, armed units moving through corridors. They fear chaos, she said softly. Then speak to that fear, Eli said. She opened her eyes and looked at him. You would have me admit failure. I'd have you admit reality, Eli replied. There's a difference. Another moment of silence passed. Then the Queen did something Eli did not expect. She laughed. It was quiet, brief, but real. Humans, she said, are very strange. That's what keeps us alive, Eli said. The hum beneath the walls shifted slightly as the Queen made a decision. The crystal around them brightened, forming a wide projection field. I will open a channel, she said, to all command units. They'll hear you? Eli asked. They will, she said. And they will know I am sealed. Eli nodded. Good. That honesty matters. The Queen straightened, her presence filling the chamber. When she spoke, her voice carried far beyond the walls. I am alive, she said. The palace was endangered by our own systems, not by enemies. The human envoy assisted in stabilizing the core. Outside the chamber, the movement slowed. Voices fell quiet. I do not rule by fear tonight, she continued. I rule by responsibility. Any who threaten the core will be treated as enemies of the Dominion. Eli listened carefully. She was firm, but not aggressive. Clear, but not cruel. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the armed units began to withdraw. The Queen lowered her voice. Stand down. Secure the palace. Protect the people. The channel closed. Eli released a breath he had been holding. That took courage. The Queen looked at him. They will remember this. So will history, Eli said. The hum beneath the walls settled into its most stable rhythm yet. The chamber lights softened. The cycle is nearly complete, the Queen said. Eli stood, legs stiff but steady. "What happens when the door opens?" She studied him for a long moment. "That," she said, "depends on what kind of empire I choose to lead." The faint outline of the door became visible for the first time since it had sealed. Eli felt a strange sense of calm. Whatever happened next, something had already changed. Not just in the palace, but in how an empire viewed a single human who stayed calm when the door was locked. The door began to change. At first it was only a faint line of light, a thin outline where smooth black crystal had once looked endless. The hum beneath the floor shifted, slow and controlled. Like a deep breath finally released, Eli stood beside the queen, his hands relaxed at his sides. He did not move toward the door. He did not step back from it either. Outside, the palace was quiet in a way that felt heavy. Not calm. Waiting. "The cycle is ending," the queen said. Eli nodded. "I can feel it." The light along the door grew brighter. Symbols appeared briefly, ancient and unreadable, then faded. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. When the door finally opened, it did not slide or break apart. It dissolved, fading into the wall as if it had never existed. Beyond it stood rows of Virelian guards, their armor dark and polished, weapons lowered but ready. Behind them were members of the High Council, their expressions tense and uncertain. They had expected many things. They had not expected this. The queen stepped forward first. Her posture was steady, her crown glowing softly rather than blazing with dominance. She did not raise her voice, yet it carried through the hall. "The trial is complete," she said. No one spoke. No one moved. Eli stepped forward beside her, clearly visible to all. He was unarmed, tired, and human. Still alive. Murmurs rippled through the gathered ranks. One of the counselors stepped forward, his tone sharp. "You were sealed." The palace nearly fell. "Yes," the queen replied calmly. "And it stands. The human should not be here," another voice said. "He is weak." Eli did not react. He had learned something important in the chamber. Silence, used correctly, could be powerful. The queen raised one hand, and the room fell quiet again. "This human stabilized the core when our own systems failed," she said. He did not command. He did not threaten. He observed, reasoned, and acted. The counselors exchanged looks. This was not the story they wanted. "You allowed a lesser species to interfere in sacred systems," one said. The queen's gaze hardened slightly. "I allowed an ally to help prevent destruction." That word spread through the hall like shock. Ally. Eli felt the weight of it, even if it was not spoken to him directly. The queen turned her head and looked at him. "Human Eli Carter, step forward." He did. Every eye followed him. "You were told you would remain in my chamber," she said. "You were given no protection and no promise of survival. Why did you help?" Eli considered the question carefully. "Because the palace mattered," he said simply. "And because you were willing to listen." The council reacted at once. "She was tested," someone said. This was weakness. The queen did not raise her voice. She did not need to. "Weakness," she said, "would have been clinging to failing systems out of pride." Silence fell again. She turned to the guards. "Lower your weapons." They hesitated. Then, one by one, they obeyed. The queen faced the council. "Tonight, the Dominion learned something important. Strength is not only control. Strength is knowing when control is killing you." Some counselors looked away. Others looked angry. A few looked thoughtful. Eli stood quietly, feeling the strange stillness of the moment. He knew history was shifting, even if no one said it aloud. The queen raised her voice slightly. "Humanity is no longer classified as a minor species." The murmurs returned, louder now. "They are adaptable," she continued. "They endure chaos. They survive without perfect order. That makes them valuable." A counselor stepped forward again. "You would elevate them because of one human?" The queen turned toward him slowly. "Empires rise and fall because of individuals who choose differently." She gestured toward Eli. This one chose cooperation when fear would have been easier. The counselor fell silent. The queen straightened fully. Humanity is granted foundational ally status. The hall erupted. Eli's breath caught. He had hoped for survival. He had not expected this. Foundational ally was a title given only twice in Varelian history. Both times, it had reshaped the Dominion forever. The queen turned to Eli once more. "You will return to your world." Eli nodded. "Yes, your majesty. And you will tell them what you saw here," she said. Eli met her gaze. "I will tell them the truth." She inclined her head slightly. "That is enough." The guards parted, forming a clear path. As Eli walked forward, something unexpected happened. A guard lowered his head, then another. Soon, the entire line stood in silent acknowledgement. Eli did not bow. He did not salute. He walked, as he always had. Human. Hours later, Eli stood aboard the Varelian transport that would return him to human space. The palace loomed outside the viewport, steady and intact, glowing beneath the stars. The queen appeared on the display before him. "Our paths will cross again," she said. "I believe they will," Eli replied. "You stayed calm when power failed," she said. "My people will study that." Eli smiled faintly. "We've had a lot of practice." The transmission ended. As the ship moved away, Eli allowed himself to finally rest. His body ached. His mind felt heavy. But beneath it all was something stronger: hope. Back on the palace world, the Dominion changed in small but meaningful ways. Systems were redesigned with human-style oversight. Councils learned to pause before acting. Strength was redefined, slowly, painfully, but permanently. Across alien space, the story spread, not of a human warrior, not of a human conqueror, but of a human who stood in a locked room, surrounded by power beyond understanding, and chose patience over fear. On Earth, leaders listened carefully when Eli spoke. Not because he carried alien authority, but because his words carried proof. Humanity did not survive because it was the strongest. It survived because it adapted, trusted, and endured. And in the quiet halls of alien empires, a new warning began to circulate, spoken with respect rather than fear. "Do not underestimate humans," they said. "They remain calm, even when the door is locked."